Okay, feather the light this way. Okay, perfect, yeah. One thing I wanted to be very careful with in this calendar is I didn't want it just to be 100% dude calendar, because there's actually a lot of women in agriculture, especially in leadership positions. So in Villarica, we photographed the Calderon family, and it's a grandmother and her granddaughter, and they work on a Lavazza co-op, and we photographed them with a big old bucket of Lavazza coffee beans that they picked, and they even wore some of their traditional clothing that they wanted to share with the world for this picture. When it came time to take the close-up portrait, our granddaughter had gotten so tired from just running around with the crew all day.
So itchy there.
That we get set up, the temperature is nice and warm, the kettle starts boiling, and she slowly starts to drift asleep. And I turned to, I believe, Caleb, Jesse, Hector, and said, shh, guys, be quiet. And I snuck off maybe 3 or 4 frames before she stirred and started to wake up. Oh, and then she fell back asleep again. We took some more shots, and we got I think for a photographer, probably the best of both worlds, in the sense that you can have a nice setup, a nice frame, but then also something unexpected happens.
Would you say that that girl was the cutest kid of the trip, Joe? Because I'm gonna say she was adorable.
Yeah, and not shy at all, because one of the problems with working with little kids is that you never really know what you're gonna get. It's a mixed bag. They can love you 1 second, be really into taking photos 1 minute, and totally not having it the next second. And this girl was so good. What a perfect subject.
Well, Alan's gonna like this one.
No. Oh, with this picture? When we photographed in La Guajira in Colombia, actually none of us really expected the climate to change so dramatically, just because the day before we were in sort of a wet, cold, lush green environment, and then just a short plane ride away, we were transported to a completely different world.
This place, the Guajira, was one of the most beautiful and challenging locations, just because it was, it was really windy, it was mega dusty, it's really dry, and also it was like really, strong just to see these people that, even if it hasn't rained in 3 years, and they're basically agriculture people, they don't want to be relocated, they don't want to move from their land because they're so attached to their land. The generations been there, so it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I will say that if Apple ever wanted to do a commercial about the places and locations that their computers can live in, this would have been a great commercial, because this one in particular was so hot. I remember my computer when we were in the kitchen, and it was so hot I literally couldn't physically touch the computer because it was burning my fingers. That's how hot it was in this place. Nothing like shooting in a kitchen.
Nothing like shooting in the burning infernal.
One of the shots that made it into the calendar actually wasn't, if I remember correctly, wasn't planned for at all, but they decided that they wanted to put on a cultural dance for the crew.
Around the world, like when tourists show up to an eco lodge, like little cultural place puts on a little dance and goes, yeah, okay, bye. But like this was like the real thing. When we showed up, they were really taken aback that we wanted to celebrate their culture, and that's why they put on that traditional dance for us.
It was actually so unexpected that we didn't. I think Hector and I were somewhere else setting up the next photo setup, and there weren't any, there wasn't a flash or anything used for this. I think there maybe was a reflector, but it was
nothing.
It was just kind of went with it, and it's beautiful. Yeah, this was another setup where we didn't really use smoke. We gathered some dirt, blew it through a fan, and I think that we all kind of caught a good mouthful of sand in this shot.
Yeah, we already had some naturally from the place, and then we just made it even more intense. in spirit of the calendar and keeping every single calendar image cohesive, we always have 2 generations. And in this, there is. It's just that Antonia's mother is way far in the background, blurry, but they're still together in the same frame. Whenever you photograph young kids that are too young to care about photography, you always need very special sensibilities to get them to look the right way for the photograph, and that's where Jesse Corman came in on this particular setup.
I have some experience with my son, Stinkle. It was
Your son?
my dog. So it was when you play with your voice a lot, it gets a lot of attention, and this one he didn't really understand English either, so it's kind of I just made a bunch of weird noises going and playing with trains above the camera, and it got such a good expression out of him.
I'm very lucky to have you by my side when I shoot, Jesse. Thank you very much for that. And then the second setup, we actually went outside to do the photograph that we call the bearer. And the idea here is Jesus has a basket full of coffee beans, but also it's counterbalanced by the weight of his young boy there. To make Jesus comfortable with putting his son in a basket, he actually made that contraption himself, and he's quite the handyman, so he did a good job doing it. Here we go. Okay, perfect, yeah. The stick should come, yeah, the cherry's in the back. Exactly.
We're doing a big group shot. And I mean a big group shot. Oh, big.
Okay, well, in this community, we wanted to make a huge group shot to include as many as the community members as possible. So we started with the Casanova family, who spearheads the project in this community. But then, as people started gathering to watch us, it felt wrong to have such a big crowd not in the photo. So we started adding more and more people to the main group shot, and eventually it grew to what it was, which was a very, very complex setup. But actually there's something interesting about the Tree of Life. The reason why they call it that is because there's actually a storm that knocked over the tree, but then it still sprouted upwards afterward. So it's a very special spot for the community. So that's also what made the group shot special for me. So yeah, our main calendar image is a huge group shot of everybody, but for the portrait, I actually wanted to focus on Lilith, who's this young woman here, and her uncle. And for me, Lilith is probably the perfect subject for a calendar like this that's looking into the next generation of agriculturalists, because you want them to be empowered with education. Like, for example, Lilith is a student that's learning in school, but you also want them to be connected to their community in some way. So although she's a student, during the harvest, she goes back and helps harvest the coffee plants like everybody else. So what the calendar is really about is about the new generation learning new sophisticated skills and then taking them back to their community and getting the best of the past, but also the best of the present.